Hi there, it's Laura from Laura Walmwell Photography, and joining me today is Brittany Tartaglia, who is a registered veterinary technician at Park Avenue Vets. Hi, Brittany, I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm super excited to be here.
Excellent. So, you've been involved in pet care for quite some time now. How did you get started in this field?
Um, so when I went into the field, I didn't initially want to work in pet care. The program I did focused on the veterinary technician side of things, but also had a wildlife aspect, and that was what I wanted to do going into that that program. But it's really hard to find paying jobs in wildlife um, areas, so I ended up getting a job as an RVT once I finished my program, since I had that degree and what I've been doing since.
Perfect. And you're at Park Avenue Vets in Guelph. What does that clinic specialize in?
So we are what you would classify as an integrative practice. So we do the usual veterinary medicine, but we also specialize in holistic medicine. So one of our vets practices homeopathy, and then we have another vet who's currently not working, who practices acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine.
Oh, wow. I'm
Yeah.
sure that's a huge, huge benefit to the community because it's got to be tough to find providers.
Yeah. There's not a lot of people out there who do it, and with Guelph being the city that it is, there are a lot of people who kind of have that more mindset, who really like the holistic medicine aspect. So yeah.
Excellent. So I'd love to chat a little bit about in your practice. I know this past year there have been a huge increase in the number of people bringing in new pets into their families. Um, and as an RVT, if folks are thinking about bringing a new pet into their family, what are some of the key considerations that they should be thinking about before they even start looking for a pet?
Yeah, some of the key considerations before looking at getting a pet, definitely the type of pet that you're going to be able to care for best is going to suit your family best, whether that's a cat or a dog or whatever else you might be interested in owning. And other things to look at if you are looking at getting a dog is, if you have the time to care for that dog, especially exercise, financial needs, feeding the dog, what kind of knowledge and what are you looking for in a companion pet? Because there's so many different types of dogs and so many avenues that you could go down when it comes to adopting an animal.
As far as finding a pet that fits your lifestyle, um, breed research, where should people start with that?
Well, that's a good question. There's, I mean, honestly, one of the best things would probably to be asking your friends and people that have dogs, and what breeds they have, and or mixed breeds or whatever they have, to see what their experience is with those breeds, or if you already have contact with people who work in the veterinary industry, getting their opinion on it, because they see different breeds every single day and kind of know what kind of behaviors are out there in the certain dog breeds.
Absolutely. I know that for sure when people are, initially looking for a dog, sometimes they're like, oh, I want a big dog or a small dog. What are some other factors like energy level that they should be thinking about?
Yeah, so definitely energy level is a big one, because there's a huge range of different energy levels in dogs, and maintenance of the dog. So grooming is a big thing. Like, those dogs, big fluffy coats take a lot of a lot of work to groom them. Taking into consideration your home that you have, if you have room for a really big dog, or if you want dog hair all over your house, or if you have the backyard space to have a dog that can run around, and other things would be to look at cost of the size of dog you're getting as well, because I mean, bigger dogs cost more money, whether it's to feed them and veterinary care, medications, all that stuff. It definitely does cost more. So if you're getting a bigger dog, it's definitely going to cost you more in the long run. So something to keep in mind as well.
Well, and certainly there are some breeds that have predispositions to certain
Yeah.
conditions.
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind as well. If you're thinking about a specific breed, um, I don't know where is really the best place to look at that for information, but I'm assuming like kennel clubs, like the Canadian Kennel Club and those kind of websites would have information about what the breeds are prone to as far as health conditions.
So once a potential new owner has decided on a breed that suits their situation, how would that potential owner seek out a good breeder, a responsible breeder? What are some of the things that they should be looking for?
So definitely some of the things to look for responsible breeders is bare minimum being able to meet the puppies and meet the parents of the puppies before you even choose which puppy you're taking home. There are definitely certain situations where people pick out puppies and never meet the parents whatsoever, and that's not ideal because you're not, able to see how big they are, what health condition they're in, all of that. And also being able to see the facilities that your puppies are being raised in, making sure that you're okay with the environment that they're being raised in. Those are the main two that I recommend for people. Other things would be, I'm just looking at my notes I have written down here. Health guarantees. A lot of breeders who breed purebred dogs have health guarantees. So looking at what that includes, as well as if they have any exclusions for health guarantees, because there are certain breeders who will exclude those predisposed conditions from their health guarantees. And what a health guarantee means for most breeders is that if the puppy develops some kind of chronic illness or issue, typically they will allow you to bring the puppy back to them, and they'll either give you your money back or give you first pick of their next litter kind of thing. So that's what health guarantees typically mean for breeders. Yeah, so those are the main things. Also, sorry, there's one more thing. Another thing is breeder contracts, because sometimes breeders just have most ridiculous contracts and they just expect people to do the most ridiculous things. So I would recommend, if you are able to, looking at the breeder contract before agreeing to adopt a puppy, so you can see exactly what the breeder's recommendations are, expectations of you, if they have any rules about when you're allowed to spay or neuter the puppy, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. There's, in addition to sort of doing your breed research, you really need to do your breeder research as well.
Yeah.
Would you suggest looking for breeders that, are specifically listed somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, most reliable breeders are gonna be registered with some kind of kennel club. So like the Canadian Kennel Club or whatever. I would not recommend looking on Kijiji for breeders. So yeah, I would not recommend looking on Kijiji, but just like searching for breeders within your area online and seeing what their website looks like, what their breeding history looks like, how many litters they have every year, any dogs that they have in their care, kind of thing. You can just kind of get a feel of what they're like, and if you're comfortable with that situation.
Are there any major red flags that people should look for if they find themselves in a situation where they see a cute puppy on the internet? Any sort of warning signs that this may not be a breeder that you should be dealing with?
Yeah, so definitely one of the things I mentioned before is making sure you meet parents. That's one of the biggest things. Making sure that the breeder doesn't want to meet you somewhere off site for going to get the puppy, because then you're not seeing the facility they raised in, and you have no idea how that puppy was raised and if they're coming from the same person who bred the dogs. And if you do get to see the facility where the puppies were raised, making sure it's, you know, relatively clean, and then that there's not, you know, like kennels full of dogs all over the place. Making sure that the female dogs that that the puppies are coming from look like they're in body condition, and making sure that they're not being bred too often. There's a lot of questions you can ask the breeder to make sure that dogs are being cared for properly. And puppies that are in poor condition, if the puppies look skinny or their hair coat doesn't look good or they have any evidence of fleas or ectoparasites, then it's something you want to watch out for as well.
So I guess we could ask the same sort of questions for folks who are looking at rescues. Are there
Mhm.
best practices for looking for a rescue dog?
Yeah, there definitely are. I mean, with rescues, you're one of my cats is yelling at me. With rescues, you're usually most of them are doing things in a really good way, especially if you're looking at SPCA type associations like humane societies and whatnot. But there are definitely private run rescues that I have seen that maybe aren't doing things in the best way. So making sure that the dogs come to you spayed and neutered. If it's a really young puppy and they're not, like, if the rescue isn't spaying and neutering them beforehand, then that's completely acceptable. But any like adult dog, making sure they're spayed and neutered, they have the appropriate vaccines that they should be getting at the age, and, you know, just getting information from them about what to expect going forward, taking care of a dog in the future.
Perfect. I know with a lot of folks working from home these days, it seems like it's a great time to have a new pet join your family, but eventually we're all going to go back to work. So, what are some things that folks can do to help set their pets up for success when that happens?
Yeah, so that's a great question because that's something we're having a lot of concerns about in the veterinary community, is making sure all these people who are adopting Dumpson puppies have them set up for when they do eventually have to go to work, if that does happen. So making sure you are making time for your dog to spend time alone. Even if it's an adult dog that you're rescuing, a lot of them have even more separation anxiety issues than when you're getting a puppy. So even if it's leaving to go to the grocery store, making sure someone is or everyone from the home is leaving, and that you're not constantly having someone home with the puppy, or going for a walk without the puppy. You know, even if you can't really be going out and doing things, you can still make time to make sure that the puppy is home alone for periods of time, and building them up to that like you would a normal time that you're adopting a puppy as well, not just being like, oh, gotta go to work next week, I'll leave my puppy home alone for 2 hours today. So making sure you're building up to that. Another thing that I feel like isn't taken for granted enough when people are home as often as they have been is crate training. Even if you plan on having your dog not be in a crate when they are an adult and it's safe for them to stay home alone and not get into things, I still recommend people always crate training their puppies, because you never know what situation they're going to be in where they may need to be in a kennel, or, you know, if they get into things, or if they're not completely housebroken, crate training can really help with that.
Excellent. I know another thing that you mentioned that you see in your practice, again with folks having a lot of time, is current pet owners thinking about breeding their own pets.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that situation, what are some things that people should be thinking about if that's something they're considering?
Yeah, so definitely something we're seeing a little bit more of recently, especially because there's kind of more of a trend going towards people not spaying their pets as early now as people used to. So people wanting to, you know, breed their pets at least once. And something to look at is, you know, what breed of dog do you have? Is it a mixed breed? Is it a purebred? Like, who are you going to breed that dog with as well? Like, if it's a purebred, are you going to breed it with another purebred of the same breed, or are you going to breed it with something else and create a mixed breed? It's just there's definitely a lot that goes into that aspect of it alone. And then, speaking with your veterinary team about it before you do it, so you can see what they recommend. Do they recommend doing, like wellness blood work beforehand so that you can make sure your dog's at ideal health? If you are breeding purebreds, another thing for sure to take into consideration is those predispositions to certain things like hip dysplasia or hypothyroidism or whatever. So making sure you have those health issues sorted out before you're breeding your dog as well.
Well, and I think too, if you're creating more pets that are going to be out
Mhm.
there in the world, you want to make sure that they're healthy, that,
Yeah.
you know, they're well adapted even before they're going into that new home, and that you have the resources to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, definitely looking at what your financial situation is, because even if, the pregnancy goes smoothly and you find the perfect dog to breed your dog with and your dog's super healthy, there's so many things that can go wrong with even just birthing puppies. Like there could be an emergency and your dog might need a C-section, and there's just a lot that could go wrong in those situations. So if you don't have the finances to take care of that, then that can be a big issue. And looking at what you feel the puppies are going to need. What are you going to feed all the puppies? Are you going to provide the first boosters and deworming and first vet visit before the puppies go to their home? Because that can be quite costly as well. And another thing to look at is just the commitment of, what if someone adopts one of your puppies and they can't take care of the puppy? Are you going to take that puppy back with you, or is that person stuck taking care of the puppy? Like, what kind of relationship do you want to have with the people who are adopting the puppies from
So it's a lot more complicated than just, hey, I want to have
you?
a litter. There's way
Yeah.
more to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think what every pet owner wants is to ensure that all the decisions we make leading up to choosing a pet and throughout the pet's lifetime is to make sure that that pet is a lifetime pet.
Hmm.
So, in your experience as a vet tech, are there any tips, whether it's checking in on your pet's health or making sure you're a good match, any tips that make sure that that pet is with you for the long haul?
Yeah. One of the things that I always recommend to people is pet insurance. And I think not enough people take advantage of it. It's definitely something that might seem like a waste of money because you're paying every month for, a premium that you may or may not use. But if your pet ends up getting sick or there's an accident or something happens and you end up with a bill that's thousands of dollars, at least you know that you have that to help you if you don't have the finances in that moment. Or even if you do have the finances in that moment, at least you kind of get some of that money back. And if they do develop, like there's a lot of issues, chronic ongoing health issues that you might be paying for medication your entire pet's life, like allergies, for example. So many dogs have food and environmental allergies, and it can be quite costly to pay for the food and the medications and everything, depending on the severity of your pet's allergies. And if you get pet insurance right when they're puppies or when they're young and healthy, then that's going to be covered for their entire lives.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I think research,
Yeah.
put the work in before the pet comes, I think
Yeah.
is the main thing, because yes, it's so much fun to have pets and to share your life with these animals, but we owe it to them as pet owners to come into it with our eyes wide open, and give them everything we can.
Yeah.
So speaking of being a pet owner, I know you have some wonderful pets that live with you. I would love to
Yeah.
hear who they are.
So I have two cats, one who's been with me since I was 16, and his name is Jacob, and he's just a scruffy, long-haired white cat. And our other cat, whose name is Lion Cat, and she's a short-haired tortie. She is, well, how old is she now? We got her about a year after we moved to Guelph, so she's 5 now. And then I have two dogs, one super much, who is kind of a boxer mix, but also he doesn't look like a boxer. And his name is Bernard. He is 7. And speaking of allergies, he's allergic to everything. So, yeah, he's one of the reasons I'm so pro pet insurance, because like the amount of money I've spent on his allergy issues. Just, and I have pet insurance for him, so it's great. It covers these things. And then our other dog, Freya, is a 9-year-old husky who is a rescue. Most of them are rescues. Bernard was a Kijiji puppy back before I knew better.
And what do you like to do with your pets here in southwestern Ontario?
Well, we do lots of hiking with the dogs. Actually, we're doing some our one younger cat does go out on a leash occasionally in the backyard. So she does love to do that. But yeah, lots of hiking with our two dogs, which they love. Yeah.
So before we end off, I have some rapid fire questions for you. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yeah.
All right. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Favorite breed?
Oh, huskies.
What are your pet's favorite treats?
Well, cheese. They all like cheese.
Excellent. Are your pets full of beans, full of dreams, or full of something entirely different?
Most of them are full of beans for sure.
If your pets were all in a band together, what kind of music would they play?
Oh my God. Oh, I don't know. Probably some kind of weird electronic rock-ish music.
And finally, if money were no object, what is one amazing thing that you would do to spoil your pets?
Oh, one thing I would do to spoil them. That's a good question. Buy a giant property where they can all run around forever.
Amazing. Before we end off, I would love to ask, how can the Southwestern Ontario pet community best support their veterinary staff right now? I know it's a tough time for everyone. So how can pet owners be the best to the people who are looking after their pets?
Yeah, so the main thing I think is just being patient with your veterinary staff. Like so many of us are, still operating on curbside service, especially with the recent shutdown, and just overwhelmed with everything going on. So I mean, being patient, making sure you're calling ahead when you have, food or medications or anything, and just being respectful of the staff and being kind to them if something doesn't go your way or you have to wait longer than normal or whatever, because we're all trying to do the best we can, but it's a bit of a struggle.
And I think too, remembering that, like with any relationship, it's a dialogue, right? If you have
Yeah.
questions, your vet wants to hear them.
Hmm.
I know my own vet practice is fantastic. If I have a simple question, they'll answer it over the phone.
Yeah.
It's all about reaching out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. So, is there anything else that you would like to say to the folks who listen to this?
I don't think so. I think we covered the majority of the things I want to talk about. So that's good. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Brittany. I really appreciate it. It has been a pleasure listening to everything you have to say, and honestly, I think you've really shared a lot of good steps for folks who are starting to look for a pet, and I really
Yeah.
hope they follow your advice.
Hopefully.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. This is Laura from Laura Walmall Photography. I'm here with Brittany, who is a registered vet tech at Park Avenue Vets, and we both hope that you and your pets have an awesome day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.